Welcome to the Final Hour podcast, coming to you from the original Living Word Christian Center out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Jim Hammond.
I'm Lonaiah Farrell.
I'm John Gapp.
And I'm JD.
JD. Jerry for short.
Germanji.
We just want to thank the 4,420 subscribers we have on YouTube, but we also have a lot more. If you're looking at Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you add all that stuff up.
Rumble.
Rumble's growing slowly, but I think Apple Podcasts and Spotify, we just pulled those numbers, didn't we, Jerry? And so we're blessed. Thank you so much. But please do, if you're following us on or watching this on YouTube, please just hit the subscribe button. Or, this is our 165th episode.
It's a lot of episodes.
To subscribe to Rumble, it's the green follow button. Mm-hmm. Spotify, hit the plus sign. Apple Podcasts, hit the plus follow. Facebook, hit the like button. And so, also we got the signups are ready for the 2026 Final Hour Podcast Israel Tour, February 2nd through the 13th. What do you got on that, Lonaiah?
Well, you can officially register or go to the website to find out any information you have about the upcoming Israel Tour at lwcc.org/events. Otherwise, you can go to www.thefinalhourpodcast.com, and there'll be a little thing in the right-hand corner that says Israel Tour, and you can click on that link. It'll have a list of the places that we're going to go to. It'll have the prices, the trip dates, hopefully answer all of your questions. We tried to make it as detailed as possible, so you can go on there and register or look into the trip if you'd like to.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yep. So
it's exciting.
Pray about that. We've got some time here. The Final Hour Podcast Tour to Israel in 2026, February 2nd through the 13th.
That's incredible. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's good. We go to a lot of amazing places. So
we, the Pope died. There's a lot to that.
I have opinions, but we'll see.
Well, we figured he'd get the Neuralink chip or something, right? And maybe start doing miracles or, I'm
happy to be wrong with all that, and the drama unfolds after, the Catholic Church makes their decisions with the conclave and all that. We'll see.
It's going to look good, whoever they pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to put these words somewhere, but I know this is, I don't know if I should even be saying this, but I don't believe this next guy's going to last very long.
I think it's
the next guy. Right? We're all going to look at this guy like, oh my gosh, that's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the Pope that's going to take him through the tribulation.
Don't think so.
I think we'll see what happens. But we've told you about the 12th century Archbishop Malachi. You can Google it. It's back in the 1170s. This is documented. He had a vision of the coat of arms. If you think about this vision. He saw the coat of arms for 112 popes in a row, starting in the 1170s. So he got every single one of them right. Right?
The odds of that are just
staggering.
Yeah.
To even go 3 in a row from him forward, crazy.
112.
And so he predicts the coat of arms. It's more or less, it's a prophecy coming out of a vision. He does it in order. And this last pope that just died was the 112th. And so Malachi was saying from his time on, from the time that he said, hey, I had this vision, there was going to be 112 popes. Francis was the 112th. You could say if this pope dies, then it hurts that prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have to look at the fact that he got all of them in order.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a non-biblical source.
Yeah.
We're not taking this out of the Bible. I just wonder if the next guy they pick, as I said, if he lives very long, if he doesn't become the false prophet in Revelation, all right, this next pope, or if he does, I just don't think Malachi. It's easy to think, well, I'm not counting the false prophet.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? He didn't see that guy's coat of arms.
Right.
I mean, because the next guy could be Pope in name, but
Right.
He's got a much bigger name, much bigger title. If what we think is going to happen happens, you want to make sure that when you have a prophecy like this, that's so extraordinary, where he got 112 popes right
That's really good credentials.
in a row.
I know.
So it's amazing.
But it doesn't have the same validity as something out of Scripture. There's a book called A Woman Rides the Beast.
Oh yeah.
And it's so tempting. It's a huge book written by Dave Hunt. And I've thought about, you know what? Let's just prove the false prophet's going to be the Pope. Mm-hmm. And let's just go through that book. Unfortunately, to go through that book, we would do about 15. It would take 15 podcasts in a row. It's called A Woman Rides the Beast by Dave Hunt. And if you read the book, he will absolutely convince you that this woman that Revelation prophesies about in chapter 17 is the false prophet. This is the spiritual. This is what it looks like in the spirit. Let me show you what this looks like in the spirit.
Can I say something to that
Yeah.
really quick? Because I was watching Glenn Beck talk about
Yeah.
Pope Francis passing away, and he said that he went to the Vatican a couple years ago. Okay, I don't know what his religion is. I think he might be Mormon.
He started off Mormon.
Okay.
He's a Christian.
But he's
A Christian
he
now?
Yeah.
believes in Jesus Christ.
Okay. Okay.
Him crucified.
Well,
But
so do
that
the
doesn't matter.
Mormons,
But
though.
that
Well,
just
I know. I've just heard a lot
I just
from
can't
him.
remember what he was. I didn't.
that-
I didn't think he was Catholic. But
Yeah, no, he's not Catholic.
anyways, he went to the Vatican. He's in
Jim
there.
Gaffigan's Catholic though.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. So he went to, that guy's funny. So he went to the Vatican. He's in there with like cardinals and talking to people. And he's like, these are like really sweet guys, really pure and holy, having great conversations. And he's like, all of a sudden, the room shifts. This is he explains he was there. This happened. Okay. I'm just explaining
Like the
for all of you
atmosphere
people,
drops
10 degrees
Yeah.
in temperature. And he says he turns around and he sees this guy walking towards him. He's like, you could feel the presence of evil on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at this guy and he's like, who's that? And the guy's like, can you feel that? And he's like, yeah, I can feel it. He's like, okay, good. Then like you
have a
have a
sense.
sense
Yeah.
of what's right and wrong. And he's explaining that the popes in the Vatican are run by a deep state
Yeah.
of evilness. And he's explaining that
the cardinals and the Pope?
well,
Everybody
he's
in
just
the
saying
Vatican?
not
The Vatican.
the Vatican.
Right.
And he's explaining that. So all of you people who are like, oh my gosh, no way can the false pope or the false prophet be the pope. When I saw that, I was like, how can you argue when he's explaining the evilness that's in that place?
Well,
Yeah.
The clips on
That's
Instagram. You can Google
You can
it.
check that.
He has a whole podcast on it where he
He's-
goes into
yeah,
detail.
Exactly.
Yes.
That one I listened to that a couple of times, the full thing, and it's wild. And then Mel Gibson, who is a Catholic.
Yeah, you're right. You said that.
And we talked, he's talked about that cardinal that was like disavowed or whatever last year. That guy, he's like, he's a pretty righteous dude. And because he opposed the Vatican on some of these.
Their beliefs.
on globalism.
Yeah, exactly.
He was anti-globalist.
Anti-globalist,
And they canned him.
anti-trans, affirming type stuff. But, so you can tell that there are some real schisms inside those cardinal orders.
Right.
But,
Well, Revelation 17:3. I want to give you a picture of this because this is what it looks like in the spirit. Everything that happens in the physical, it'll happen in the spirit, and it'll look like something in the spirit first. If you could see into the spirit world, which some people can, that's a spiritual gift. It's called discerning of spirits. The angel bore me away. Revelation 17:3, Amplified Classic. In the spirit, into the desert wilderness, I saw a woman seated on a scarlet beast that was all covered with blasphemous titles and names, and he had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was robed in purple and scarlet and bedecked with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She was holding in her hand a golden cup full of the accursed offenses and the filth of her lewdness and vice. And on her forehead there was inscribed a name of mystery with a secret symbolic meaning. Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes. That means idolatresses. And the filth and atrocities and abominations of the earth. So, filth of her lewdness and vice. In her hand, a cup. She's got a cup. And so she's got inscribed on her forehead, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes. And so they call her the whore of Babylon. All right. And so I saw, verse 6, I saw that the woman was drunk with the blood of the saints. God's people, this is a spirit. All right, this is what's going to be behind the Antichrist. And I have questioned, is it the same spirit that we see the Israelites fooling around with Ashtaroth?
Right.
Who later turned, or I think was an Isis in the Egyptian,
right?
Venus in the Roman. It's the same
Ishtar.
Same beliefs. There was that she had the transgender thing going on back then. Mm-hmm. Honestly, she had dudes, turning themselves into females.
Yep.
Obviously, it was a little bit more primitive. I mean, the way they probably did it, but this all was going on. They had songs to her. Is this the same? I don't know, but she is what backs the false prophet. All right, the whore of Babylon. The woman was drunk with the blood of saints and the blood of the martyrs who witnessed for Jesus. And when I saw her, I was utterly amazed and wondered greatly. So Francis, this pope that died, many of his detractors,
Detractors
called him Francis the Divider within the Catholic Church. They're going to be careful in selecting his successor, obviously. But I think the first successor will be a little bit more or less controversial. Yeah. But this last pope that just died, he didn't help the Catholic Church. He split the Catholic Church laity and clergy by his radical pronouncement and his purging of conservative priests and bishops. And so this guy, Francis, was the Roman Catholic Church's first Jesuit pope and was a committed globalist and socialist. Many believe he was an outright Marxist, which is a communist. During the peak of COVID, Pope Francis energetically enforced the closing of Catholic churches worldwide, pushed the devastating mRNA injections. The Pope said it was his moral obligation for all Catholics to get their vaccine shots. He was the first DEI Pope, speaking profusely and persistently about the need to change the Church's teaching in regards to homosexuality being a sin. He fired many conservative bishops around the world and declared virtual war on the traditional Latin Mass, attended by millions of conservative Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think just his state, do you think he was also like kind of a Joe Biden of popes, where he was run, like you were talking about, the deep state kind of ran
for sure
his...
Remember during COVID, he had that pope, he had that thing at his place where it was the Clintons.
Yeah.
Those
talking about
leaning.
What was the topic? The topic was something, and the Clintons
and the World Economic Forum people were there.
What are you talking about?
It was
they're probably
during the height of COVID. Yeah,
they were probably drinking blood for their refreshments.
Probably.
Yeah,
for sure they
the blood
were.
drinkers.
Yeah,
and so if you don't get that. We don't have time to go into that, but that'll come out someday. He excommunicated the conservative, anti-globalist Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano,
that guy,
who served as papal nuncio to the United States under the previous Pope Benedict. In the final analysis, Francis will be remembered as a divisive pope who catered to the liberal wing of Roman Catholicism with his controversial decisions, basically saying it's not a sin to be gay. The LGBTQ. He backed LGBTQ. What's that, Lonaiah?
I just have a question because Pope Benedict's the first pope to step down in 600 years.
Right.
There was like talk that in 2013 when he stepped down that
This
he
is
was
the guy before Francis.
Yeah, that he stepped down because of ailments, but he didn't pass away till 2022. So do you think based off of what he pushed and progressed and like with COVID happening and all that in line that it wasn't done purposefully, that they forced him to step down?
I mean, I
as an entrance to make it look good,
Yeah.
like to push all this agenda, then bring in another guy who's
Yeah.
a little more conservative, then replace him again with.
Right. Well, I mean, that would coincide with the globalist agenda for Russia to invade Ukraine and kind of make this Europe versus Russia thing.
Yeah, especially if they have a 2030 goal of take over the world and everyone will own nothing and be happy.
I wouldn't doubt it at all.
All right.
The other thing that Francis did was over the past year has been preaching that all religions are languages of the divine.
That's right.
Yeah.
One world. We all
Which
serve
is
one God.
very
I
much
question-
not what the Bible says.
Just on that, you got to question if he's in heaven.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. You're going to heaven, right? All right, but if you're going to put, we did 5 episodes on the Catholic religion. You want to find out about the Catholic religion, then look at maybe even more. We go through starting from day one, all right, and what they believe. And there are many Catholics that believe Jesus Christ is their Lord and Savior.
Right.
All right, that are going to heaven. There are Catholics that speak in tongues. But, I'll just say this. If Mary is your God, if you have given her a place above Jesus Christ, I do not believe you'll be going in the rapture. And so, just my opinion. But he pushed mRNA injections on humanity. This last pope advocated for World Economic Forum's climate change agenda, introduced tons of controversial things into the Catholic Church. He gave his blessings a few years back to a pagan ceremony that took place in St. Peter's Square. He was devoted to the South American fertility goddess Pachamama. So,
Which is probably a South American Ashtoreth type.
Yeah,
For sure.
Right.
For sure. it is.
Pachamama.
Pet your mama.
It's probably misspelled. I'm probably totally.
It's not misspelled.
No, that's exactly right.
That's.
That is what it's called.
Well, Pachamama. I guess that's a good name for
I'm
the
sure it's
South
not
American.
pronounced Pachamama, Jim.
Actually, I think it is.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
I don't know. I don't live there.
Listen,
Me neither.
you don't know this, but Francis, the dead Pope,
Frankie.
I know.
shut down.
Frank.
He shut down a planned audit of the corrupt Vatican Bank
Oh.
and its connection to widespread sex trade. That's always been rumored. He sent the pedophile Cardinal Ted McCarrick to negotiate a deal with the Chinese Communist Party that placed the final authority for choosing Chinese bishops in the hands of the corrupt Chinese Communist government.
So he excommunicated the cardinal who was pushing the right things in the Bible, but then he promotes this pedophile cardinal to go.
And that guy's like, yeah, okay, Chinese government, choose whatever bishops you want. The LGBTQ, we already said, he normalized that. He dismissed conservative priests and bishops, replacing them with liberal ones. He taught that there was no literal hell, that the souls of unrepentant sinners simply disappear into nothingness. He called for unfettered migration of Muslims and other hostile illegal migrants into the Western nations.
Which right there tells you whose side.
But remember how we talked about how they were explaining that the Catholic people were starting to pray to Mary and the Muslims pray to Mary? So they were like explaining how he was like connecting the two, the Muslims and the Catholics' faith together. Yeah, we talked about that a long time ago.
We did. We've told you.
Yeah.
The overwhelming majority of Catholics, I don't believe, trusted
No.
this Pope.
My in-laws definitely did not.
You know,
Yeah,
The
that's my Catholic connection. Is
Yeah, it
I
is.
married into a
Got some Catholic family members too.
and they're like, no,
the real
they love Jesus.
devoted Catholics, because I have neighbors that are, and they're great people, but they're not allowed to talk about the Pope. They're not even allowed to question the Pope. If you bring this up to a devoted Catholic, they're not allowed to talk about any of that. And
That's some dedication.
I've run
to-
into that. Like I've asked them, what do you think about this? He said this. He said that. They're not allowed to talk about it.
Or they'll get excommunicated.
You know,
Probably. Like
I don't know.
Okay.
But look, they could do the same thing. They could double down, and the next pope could be even more progressive, right?
Right.
Or they could try to make it look good,
Right.
right? I think they're going to make this guy more likable, and he's going to be more likable, therefore more capable.
Yeah. Right.
Of deceiving the masses of Catholics.
Absolutely.
Faithful. Imagine if the world had a likable, lovable, charismatic pope who could unify the religious world in favor of a one world agenda, i.e. the Great Reset.
Project Bluebeam.
Convincing all nominal Christians and religious people in a time, when they're suffering, when it gets bad and there's confusion. You got the rapture would have happened.
You'll
right?
own
All this
nothing
stuff.
and be happy.
And so the world would be in a serious global crisis.
Right.
Okay. You're going to see nuclear war in the tribulation. I think it's very clear. We gave you that scripture 2 weeks ago of the. No, I don't think we gave you the scripture, but John had a vision of the sky rolling up like a scroll. That's a mushroom.
Mushroom.
At the same time, the world, the earth shook to the point where mountains and islands were moved.
Yeah.
Moved. And so there's going to be nuclear war. The world would be completely open. And so is the Pope, it puts the Pope in convincing all these Catholics to go to digital ID, programmable tokens replacing paper cash. He convinces the masses in the aftermath of the nuclear war
Right.
To submit to digital surveillance
Right.
all over the world. To make them safer and more secure. I highly suggest before you're going to come against the Pope being the false prophet, you have to read Dave Hunt's book, A Woman Rides the Beast. You will be convinced if you read Dave Hunt's book, A Woman Rides the Beast. You will be convinced that the Pope will be the false prophet. You have Revelation
Totally makes sense.
13 describing two evil world leaders that work in tandem and arise in the end times. And these two men in Revelation are given the title of beasts. And the reason the Bible calls them beasts emphasizes their vicious, animalistic nature. And so you've got Revelation 13, 1 through 10, describing the beast from the sea. That's the Antichrist, right?
From the
Revelation 13, 1 through 10.
from the masses, the sea meaning out of the people.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing about the Antichrist is he doesn't come into power all alone. Revelation 13, 11, and 12. Remember, the first 10 verses of Revelation 13 are revealing the Antichrist, the beast from the sea. Then I saw another beast rising up out of the land. He had two horns like a lamb. It's gonna appear. This is a religious figure here, and he roared like a dragon, or like the devil. Dragon is translated devil in Revelation. He exerts all the power and right of control of the former beast. It says this, Revelation 13, 11, and 12, Amplified Classic. The former beast being the Antichrist. He has all the power and control of the Antichrist. In his presence. He causes the earth and those who dwell upon it to exalt and deify the Antichrist, the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he causes them to worship him directly. So the false prophet is responsible and plays a big part in catapulting the Antichrist into complete power. through all this confusion. You know, you could say the false prophet is a militarized religious right arm of the Antichrist, right? You know, won't be the first pope to be militarized.
No.
I'll tell you that. I mean, some of the papal armies in the 1100, 1200, 1300, 14, those centuries were awful.
Yeah.
They were awful. The false prophet, so he's a militarized religious right arm of the Antichrist.
Because the Pope was green lighting or saying no to whoever was in charge in most of the countries of Europe.
Right. They had to get his permission.
Right.
They had to get his permission to even be a king.
Right.
Or a queen.
Yep.
He had to approve everything. But this,
so much power.
One of these popes, if it's the next one or the one after that, he's going to institute a worldwide religion. There will be a worldwide religion in the tribulation. And I just wonder if this pope that they're about to elect lives long enough here to bring us through the tribulation, or did this pope die and is it another guy? But we just read he has power and control in the presence of the Antichrist. He causes those upon the earth to exalt, deify, and worship the Antichrist. All right? So it's good for you just to know this stuff, that if we just keep coming back to this stuff,
Yeah.
it's going to get in you, and you're going to understand at least the basics of the end times. All right? You need to know.
And I mean, I'm just thinking of past episodes that we've done, not to dwell on that and go back, but the idea that a pope would be going hand in hand with Muslim clerics and the nations that are Islamic, that they're going to be working hand in hand, makes you understand how the mark is pushed by a pope, quote unquote, when because you're like you said, all nations are gonna merge into one. The Bismillah is that inscription that some of those Muslim sects have, which says, in Arabic it says in the name of God, Bismillah. But if you look at it through the Greek alphabet, it's 660 and 6.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
crazy.
it looks virtually the same.
What a coincidence.
And you can understand how you're going to have, it's either on your hand or on your forehead, and they're saying that it's in the name of God. It's just in the name of God, whatever you want it to
Put
be.
in the name of God
But it is
on
the
your
mark
body.
of the beast.
Deception.
Verse 13 says in Revelation 13, he performs great signs, startling miracles, even making fire fall from the sky to the earth in men's sight. And because of the signs, which he's allowed to perform, again, in the presence of the first beast, of the Antichrist, he deceives those who inhabit the earth, commanding them to erect a statue, an image in the likeness of the beast, who was wounded by the small sword and still lived. And I'm telling you, and I think this is like word of wisdom, prophecy. I believe I just will not surprise me. It will start. I think this is after the rapture. I think before the rapture, we're going to see the Pope do a couple of miracles on you guys' iPhones. It's going to go viral. All right, and you're going to just think of all the gullible. Okay, I got to be careful here.
Why? Because if you talk about it, look at the Israelites.
The young generation that's seeking that, right? Like I run into a girl, used to be a witch in the after church one day, and she's like, well, you guys, you should be having those services where you're just casting demons out of everybody, and you got people throwing up in paper bags, and there's like lines and lines. That's what we want to see. I'm just saying,
they're looking for the signs.
Yeah, just like Jesus
And
talked about that.
Not the relationship, not the.
They will flock to the Catholic faith. They will flock and I just saw this prophesied by Mark Barclay that in the end times there is going to be something that is going to throw Christians off.
Yeah.
Off the Christian doctrine. And so think about this. The next pope has a couple miracles on the iPhone, right? That goes viral. I'm just saying the devil is not going to sit back and watch the church receive what the Bible calls the latter rain.
Right.
I believe the devil's going to try to beat God to the punch. I just think this end time revival where the Lord comes for a glorified church that's winning millions into the kingdom that the Bible prophesies, I think you're going to have a dark side where the devil is going to try to confuse people. All right? In regard to what's the power of God and what God is that coming from. Remember, the Pope has tried hard to get everyone to believe we're all worshiping the same God here. And the Pope just died. So the coming Pope, all right, or the false prophet, is the right-hand man of the Antichrist that will work in tandem. It's so easy to see that if you get 1 billion Catholics right now, that Pope has actual sway over hundreds of millions of people that you're going to do. He says, go get the vaccine. They go get the vaccine. You know?
Yeah.
Some of them. Not everybody's going to obey
That's
everything
why
he
there's
says.
a billion Catholics. I said hundreds of
Right.
millions.
Which
Right.
is,
Right.
again, where American people are like,
Not going to
I
do
don't
that.
know about that. Plenty of them will. Plenty of them are
yeah.
compliant, but the American mindset is still don't tell me what to do
Right.
kind of a thing.
Yeah, but a lot of Americans jumped on that plane the day he died, and they're over there in line waiting to see his body right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Of
I was
course.
watching,
For sure.
I was watching him
For sure.
interviewed.
Yeah.
So the Antichrist and the false prophet, they get their power from hell, from Satan himself. The Antichrist will be a military and political figure. The false prophet will be a religious and economic figure. He will drive primarily those two areas. The world of economy and some type of one world environmental combination, you know? Like every day's an Earth Day.
Right.
We just had Earth Day.
Why don't you just love
April
Mother
22nd.
Nature?
Earth Day. You know the guy that created Earth Day? Can I tell you about that guy?
Sure.
That was 1970 that he came up with the holiday for Earth Day. All right. Well, that guy killed his girlfriend, chopped her up in little pieces, threw her in a trunk, and was turning her body into compost in his closet. The guy that created Earth Day. Earth Day. You know, they're going to worship it. It's going to be an environmental. It's going to start.
At least you tried to.
I think it'll get bad as I think the abortion will turn into. You'll start to see like a sacrifice type thing.
Yeah.
Which it's already happening.
It's already happening.
It'll be the norm. They'll be sacrificing to that demon, the Molech of the Bible. He's still around.
You need the
Mama.
Ashtoreth to supply the Molech babies.
Yeah.
It's such a wicked circle.
Molech in the Bible was the god that the Israelites, they burned their babies in the fire too. They sacrificed their little, mostly the time little boys. But many scholars believe it will be straight up, flat out by the end of the tribulation, just straight up Satanism.
Right.
All right.
Like the fans of Tim Walz here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Ugh, I can't
Jerry's
stand
giving
that
to say
guy.
something. Did you want to say something?
You mean publicly, like in the Old Testament, they're going to be doing this?
Yeah, I do. I think if they're going to have public executions, they're going to be cutting people's heads off.
Like the babies into the
I
statue
don't
fire
know.
thing?
No, because the abortion, however they do it. I know that they have like satanic ceremonies with the abortions. It's a type of sacrifice, right? That's going on. It's just going to get so evil in the end, right? It's going to be pure Satanism, because there are scriptures in Revelation that not only say the Antichrist is worshipped directly, but Lucifer is worshipped directly. The dragon is worshipped directly by the masses in the tribulation. Go ahead.
Well,
Lonnie.
I wonder if I know what you're trying to say, and I wonder if they're going to, because I was listening to a Dutch bankman, and he was like, I didn't believe any of this stuff that they worship that they do these ceremonies and do all these things. So somebody started inviting him to go to, I don't know what he went. He went to some event where he watched the Satanists like worship Satan and do all these like weird rituals. And he's like, sure, it was weird. Like that was odd. Then he gets invited. He goes a few times because he's like, I want to know what this is about. I'm just curious myself. It's one of his like higher ups in the bank, right? That they were banking through him. So they invited him to these things. He said they invited him. I feel like I talked about this a couple weeks ago.
I don't remember it.
But they invited him to go overseas to this other thing. And he said there was children's sacrifices there. And he's like, I left and I was like, I can't believe this is really happening. They're sacrificing children. Nobody would do anything about it. So he's out there talking about it now. I think this happened like 20 years ago. But I wonder if
20 years.
The private sacrifices of children, like, you know, what they believe like happened on Epstein Island and all that with all the people on the left-leaning side, if that will become a normal thing that you do in the open, because why wouldn't you do that? If everybody's worshiping all these gods, then why wouldn't you sacrifice? So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I kind of think that it would, but
going there. Of course it's going there. I heard one scholar call the false prophet the equivalent of a satanic John the Baptist. The false prophet, if the Antichrist is the Antichrist,
Yeah.
the false prophet really works like the anti-Holy Spirit.
Just the way John the Baptist prepared the way of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Pope's already here. He's going to already be here doing that.
Right.
Right? If we read in verse 11 that this beast rises up out of the earth, so the first beast came out of the sea, according to Revelation 13, the Antichrist comes out of the sea. Some people believe that the second beast coming up out of the land, some scholars believe that land is referring to Israel. They think the false prophet is coming from Israel. But listen, according to Revelation 7:15, he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So we see that the waters where the first beast, the Antichrist, comes from, are people and nations and tongues. The Antichrist comes out of the Gentile, comes out of the nations.
Right.
All right. He's coming out of, and the Bible's got him coming out. Water is an idiom for nations. He comes out of the nations. That's what the sea means in the 13th chapter. A lot of scholars believe the second beast, the false prophet, maybe the future pope, is coming out of the land. They're taking that to mean that the false prophet's going to be Jewish. I don't believe the false prophet is going to be a Jew. All right. I just think that means he's coming out of the earth. The Bible's simply saying this thing is not coming out of heaven.
Right.
He's going to be produced in an earthly sense, earthly in the full sense of the word. Earth is the false prophet's domain and only focus. So we read in verse 14, in the presence of the first beast, the second beast is allowed to do miracles. It says he deceives the people on the earth. And once the earth's population, remember, this is all after the rapture.
Right.
They see these unbelievable miracles. By now, it's fire coming down from heaven. But I believe it starts with a couple little ones before we're gone. Before the rapture. And he makes the people of earth from that point erect a statue in the likeness of the Antichrist and worship the statue. So, Revelation 13:15, he is permitted to impart the breath of life into the beast's image. And so the statue of the beast could actually talk and cause to be put to death those who would not bow down and worship the statue. Think about this. He's permitted to impart the breath of life into this image or statue of the Antichrist. This is the false prophet. It's clear in verse 15. The statue can talk. And it causes people to be put to death, those who would not bow down to it. So this statue can talk. I believe the statue is sending people to the guillotine. I believe there will be multiple statues like this set up in different places of the world. We know for sure it'll be in the tribulation Jewish temple, if not the Antichrist himself. Mm-hmm. Remember, Pharaoh's magicians could do some of those things. They matched a couple of the things that Moses did. They turned their rods into snakes. All right. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've gone back and forth. If these were real miracles that the false prophet is doing, I do. I believe they're real. I believe they're real. There's a demonic power to be tapped into on this earth. I believe that power, just like the church's power, rises. I heard Patsy Camenetti tell me at the end, as we're coming to the end, up to the rapture, it was either Grace Ryerson Ruse or Jeannie Wilkerson, one of those old school lady prophets, had a vision of a white horse and a black horse neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All the way to the end. So evil is going to rise. All right? It's going to get more evil. Don't. It shouldn't surprise you, right? It's going to get more evil. And I believe I met a man who built a huge work in the Congo. His daughter is still there doing that work. And he was very old. He came to our church, and I was hosting him on a Wednesday night. And I got to sit with him for an hour. This man looked me in the eye. And this is an old school kind of like obey or go to hell dude.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was to me, there was not a lot of grace.
Sure.
In what he believed and what he preached. You know, this is a number of years ago. He said he saw what do you call the voodoo?
Witch doctor.
A witch doctor turn into a panther.
Shaman.
Yeah, I believe it all.
And walk right into the water, or either coming out of the water or going in. Right into it.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Jacques Verneau. This guy gave his life in the Congo. Built a huge work over there. Can you imagine that? That if someone called down fire from heaven, what would the world do?
Mm-hmm.
You know? What would the world do? How much power would that man attain? It says 3 times in Revelation 13 the Antichrist is going to have a fatal wound and be brought back to life. Most scholars believe it will be the Pope, the false prophet, that brings him back to life, and it will be very public. And even though the Bible doesn't say it because of the false prophet operating, you could say with the evil gifts of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Because he produces miracles.
Right.
A Christian calling down fire from heaven is the working of miracles. Falls under the spiritual gift of the working of miracles.
Like Elijah.
Yeah, and so this guy produces miracles. It's easy to believe that he's the one that raises the Antichrist from the dead. Reading Revelation 13:15 again, he imparts the breath of life into the image of the Antichrist so that the statue can talk and causes people to be put to death. I don't think this is going to look like a giant robot. No. I think this is going to look unreal. It's going to look unreal. I think this thing's going to have a little Nephilim.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a little Nephilim, a little giant blood, a little demon blood, like what was going on before the flood. Mm-hmm. It's going to be alive, and it's going to be otherworldly. And finally, what I'm about to read here, we have the Pope, the false prophet, controlling the Pope, or a future false prophet, controlling the world economy. For Revelation 13, 16, 17. He compels all alike, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be marked with an inscription stamped on their right hands or their foreheads, so that no one will have power to buy or sell unless he bears the stamp, mark, inscription. That is the name of the beast or the number of his name. And Revelation 13, 18. So you have to say, if you can't buy and sell, you have the false prophet completely controlling the supply and the demand.
Yep.
Verse 18, here is room for discernment, a call for the wisdom of interpretation. Let anyone who has intelligence, penetration, and insight enough calculate the number of the beast, for it is a human number, the number of a certain man. His number is 666. The Muslims already have it.
The Bismillah.
They're that God, their word for God is translated in the Greek. What'd you say?
Well, Bismillah means in the name of God.
Uh-huh.
In the Arabic, But if you look at those same characters in Greek, they mean 660 and 6.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
You know, without the mark of the beast, you can't pay your mortgage. You can't get put gas. You can't do anything. You can't do anything. And so we'll get back to the blood of Jesus next week. We need to talk about the Pope, what to look for, what's coming, what the Bible says is coming. Remember to check out the book of Woman Rides the Beast by Dave Hunt. So what do we have, Lonaiah, with the news? I mean, and I feel like you didn't talk enough, Lonaiah.
What?
She's just listening.
Do you feel like you got to talk?
Jim, that wasn't even the discussion that we had.
All right. So, anyways.
You know when someone gaslights you?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Trump renovates the COVID.gov website. I don't know if you have seen it. If you have not, you need to go click the link and go check it out because it is nothing other than like savage and comical. Like he goes through explaining how COVID really took place, right? Which is what they've explained, that it was a gain of function lab in Wuhan. He goes through the 5 key findings that they have that has been sent out to the world that everybody now knows about.
Yep.
And then at the end, he explains how Fauci was an orchestrated part of this.
Yeah.
And it says, and then it reminds everybody like Joe Biden, what's the word?
Pardoned
Pardoned Fauci and explains all the illegal
Yeah.
ways of why he shouldn't have done that.
Right.
And how he should get tried for, what's it called? Why can't I think of the word?
Treason.
No. Crimes against humanity.
Oh, sure.
But anyway, go to covid.gov and look it up for yourself. It is.
Yeah.
You think that guy's got
It is
bodyguards?
savage. That is.
Yeah, and actually they
Think
took
Fauci's got
away
bodyguards?
the governor. Like the American
Secret Service.
taxpayers were originally paying for that, and
Yeah.
Trump took it away.
Yeah.
And also took away his right to be intel,
Yep.
have
Took his
government
security
yes.
clearance.
Good.
Yeah.
I like that. You know what? Trump came
Same
in this
with
time and was
Clinton.
like, "We're done with all
Same with
these."
both of the Clintons.
It's going to be
Same
harder
with
than
the
you think, you
Bidens.
guys. It's
What?
going to be harder than you think.
Oh, for sure.
Just because Cash Patel's at the FBI with Dan Bongino or whatever, I'm saying that's
So
two
much
guys. These people,
entrenched.
they've already been there.
yeah.
Obama was putting these people in there. These people have been there.
Yeah,
all right.
they have
so
been.
Well,
this is
Bush
gonna,
was putting people in there.
Yeah, this is going to take a long time.
It is going to take a long time, but I like that Trump did that. I think Trump's
That is
funny.
savage.
He does some funny things
Yeah.
with content. But okay, this came into me a few times from a few different people. So I know we've explained that they believed that the CCP party was in St. Paul. So
Yep.
Breitbart News is a great conservative news channel. They actually brought light to this, and then Alpha News went and paid a visit. They went to this facility
in St. Paul.
in St.
The
Paul.
one we reported on about a month ago.
Yeah, was
Yep.
it a month
We've
ago? or was
done it a
it
few
yeah,
times.
We have.
Yep.
So they just wanted to explain that the CCP being in Minnesota and having ties to our government here and having
Kim
sway.
Jong-Wal's.
Yes.
How many trips did he make to China? 55? A lot. 55 trips to China?
Yeah, and I mean there's tons of stuff out there on that, right? And they said that having the CCP office in Minnesota or in the United States period undermines the sovereignty and integrity of the political system of its targeted states, which they're trying to say that them being here, obviously they have direct communication and line to Waltz, and then they can push their agendas on, right?
Right.
But
But
also
the reason they're here is to pressure Chinese Americans.
Well, yes, and this is another thing that I was reading about. I can't find the article, but I sent it to John last week, so maybe
Why
I
wouldn't
can.
we just throw them out? I mean, why can't you just? What I'm sure
We
they're
could.
set up.
But
we
he's
have
not
the
going to.
ability to.
well, I mean, why can't the president throw them out?
It's a good question.
I mean,
Well, I feel like if he signed an executive order, it would be argued like Jacob Fry. I got an email today how he's arguing Trump deporting illegal immigrants and how he's saying Trump's executive order shouldn't have jurisdiction over every state and its own government and people. And he's like, we're going to protect all the illegal immigrants in Minnesota. Like, we're here for you. Come to us. We're a sanctuary
yeah,
state.
it's a little Quinta. That's where they stay,
Yeah.
right down
Yeah.
the road
Right.
from us.
Yeah.
Right.
But the Chinese government is demanding their citizens sign a decree that anyone who is from China who comes to the United States is obligated to the Chinese government to report back anything they find or see here in America that would help them. Right. So basically, you got a bunch of spies now in it, well, which you did before, right? But This is a mandate by the Chinese government
Yeah.
to citizens in the United States
Of Chinese descent.
of Chinese descent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And then this.
so there's a CCP office in St. Paul. We just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah.
And finally, Alpha
And
News walked in there.
Yeah, they did. Alpha News is so great.
Right. They're local, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
They
They're
are.
up here.
Yeah, they just did a article.
Alpha News is awesome. If you want to know what's going on here, what the woke end of things is doing up here, they're all over it.
Yeah, and they just did an article on Debbie Larson, who is the headmaster of Maranatha Christian Academy, which is connected to Maranatha, explaining how Tim Waltz wants to defund the government funding for private schools. So he wants to cut that off. So there's a really good article on there about that. But I was reading the comments and everyone's like, you voted for this. You voted for him. How can you be complaining about it? Okay, you guys, everybody in every state, you don't vote for the people that are in charge.
No,
okay?
those are all the
So
people in Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's all those yahoos.
I was reading the comments and I was so annoyed with people like, you voted for this. Why are you complaining? We didn't vote for that.
this. But it was just the
voted
two
against.
cities of St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Duluth. Everybody else didn't.
Right.
And they have more people.
Minnetonka people might have. They're very left.
You have to remember,
Medina.
4 out of 10 people did not vote for the current administration
It's good.
in
Sherry.
Minnesota.
So I'll be nice to every 4th out of 10 person I see today.
Yeah.
Okay, so China is on the docket today. So they had a robot running a marathon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's multiple.
I know why.
It was
They're
like
just
a
trying
competition.
we were talking about it.
Of robots from different companies.
But they're running with like normal people running the marathon in
Yeah.
China. Just probably to like.
It was like a expo.
Well, they didn't look that great to me. They looked. I could take those robots.
I don't know if it's the fact
So,
though that they like.
They're not advanced that much yet.
I don't think that was the point. I
Still-
think the point
I
is
could
to
be-
like
I could run
normalize
faster than 'em,
people. Well, I would hope so. Like they kind of move.
I'm
like,
just saying, like that's as far as they've gone with robots. It's not scary yet.
Well, they're probably just trying to
you have to
make you
have
act
to
like
prep,
it's normal, right?
You have to prep
Desensitize you,
the
that's the word.
population to accept, like you said, desensitize.
Yeah.
Yeah, because right now in the
You
UK,
if you like come out and they're flipping ninjas and
winning the race.
incredible and you could never compete, people would be very afraid.
it's people like you
That's a
who's
good
like,
point.
I could beat that guy.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
right. That's what I said.
But speaking of
I could outrun all the robots
the one that he saw on
as
the
well
marathon.
as Lonaiah.
It's true.
Okay.
So in a London private school, this school is in its next semester. This school costs $35,000 a year, so that's a pretty high end school. They're replacing teachers with AI next semester. So you're gonna have, I don't know if you can see this. They're gonna
Yeah.
have a robot teaching the students in this class. Like,
Right.
why are we doing this?
That's where it's going. That's
Once
where
again,
it's going.
normalizing robots.
Because they're going to be
do-
they're going to have armies of them. In my opinion.
Yeah.
The
Well,
200 million.
Honestly, if you want to
Part man, part
if you want to depopulate the world, you have to have that kind of
Yeah,
manpower.
you're right. So let's
So
slowly
the
trickle the
globalist,
Chinese,
the
the robots in.
globalist agenda can't be enacted without that kind of stuff.
Which, like, let's not forget, doesn't Tesla, don't they have robots?
They
Don't
do.
they? Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
All sorts of stuff.
Okay, so we're going to end on this because remember Klaus Schwab, our favorite?
Klaus. It's sad to say goodbye.
Yes. Was it
But
sad?
I've been unelected.
Well, you know what? It's probably good that you left office when you did,
Yeah.
Klaus, because right now there's an open probe into Klaus Schwab, and a whistleblower has come forward and said that he had financial and ethical misconducts
It's possible I've been naughty.
with the World Economic Funds. He used it to go on luxury travels, buy himself vehicles, buy himself houses. I mean, are we surprised, people? Come on.
I've been trained to act blue.
Klaus.
So Klaus Schwab is no longer the head of the World Economic Forum. So you're going to have to start learning the new guy's voice.
Yeah, I'll
Which I wouldn't
see
be
what I can
surprised
do.
if it's that Israeli, what's
yeah.
his
Oh
name?
my
His,
gosh, the creepy
Yeah,
bald
creepy
guy.
what's his
humanist
name?
guy.
Why can't I think
Scientist?
of his-
I don't even want
Isn't
to
he
know
a
his
scientist?
name.
Yeah, he is.
But he's
Very creepy.
He's Jewish, though.
Yeah, we've been hacking the
What's his
human genome and
Yes,
yeah.
he's just such a creep.
transhumanist.
Transhumanist, that's the word. So, hey, that's the news.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Final Hour podcast. I'm sorry that we
We'll be
weren't
signing off.
funny today.
Don't forget to go check
try
out
to
the
work on
Israel
that.
Tour information. Who's going to try to work on that? You? Because we're always funny.
Okay.
Wow, that's the biggest smile I've seen Jim have in the podcast, and besides when he was doing it by himself.
Did I smile by myself?
Oh yeah, you were like dancing and like
I
so
wasn't
jovial.
dancing?
Yeah, you were. We got a
Jovial.
video of it while we were in Israel. Look, guys,
Jovial.
Jim's dancing.
By myself?
Yeah,
I think, isn't there a song?
we have the clip.
Dancing by myself.
What?
I'm dancing on my own. You mean?
Know what I'm doing with the sound. Jerry gave me a faulty piece of equipment here, and I know he's sitting at the top of Masada laughing. Yeah, that's Jerry. Let's all think of Jerry. Jerry. Not Tom and Jerry. 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 Okay, I'm at peace now. Listen. Hannah's pretty funny, isn't it?
What?
Well, it'll be when Jim presses the button. It should be the video of Jim dancing from while we were gone in Israel. I'm gonna send it.
Dancing?
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, Jim. You're dancing
I
in the
was
video.
not.
It's all on the
dancing on the
internet. We can.
Cheryl sent it to us.
I
Cheryl.
wasn't dancing.
Cheryl.
You call that dancing?
Jim, if
you
you're
mean you mean like moving your shoulders?
yeah,
a
you
little
were
bit?
doing that.
Ooh.
That's
Ooh,
well, that's
yeah,
more
let's-
than you do with us
let's-
here.
You know what
Let's
that's called?
get a beat.
That's called the Jimmy Shimmy.
Jimmy Shimmy. Jimmy Shimmy.
I don't know where it is. I don't. So yeah, I'm glad you smiled with us here on the podcast.
The Jimmy jerk.
The Jimmy Jerk.
That's about right.
All right, so I don't dance like that, okay?
No.
Do you want to show us how you really? Oh, here. Oh, you can't hear it. I'm gonna send it to
Turn
you.
it up.
No, we'll just add it.
Can we link to it on the podcast?
Yeah, we will. We're gonna link.
Whatever. Don't call that dancing. You gotta if you want to see me dance, you gotta see my feet.
Okay.
'Cause he's got
You
footwork.
do the Christian hop.
Listen, you can't be dancing unless you have good footwork.
Anyways,
I've seen some people dance who don't have good footwork.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, anywho,
thank you for subscribing. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back. I'll try to smile more if there is more to comedy.
if there's more to smile about.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
God bless you.
Yes.
See you later.